Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here today. Can't wait to get into our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show of the week. Remember, it's all about health. It's all about holistic health and looking at the body as a whole on the Cabral concept. So whether you're trying to improve your overall wellness, optimize your body for longevity and anti-aging, or transform your body in towards weight loss or weight gain, vitamin D3 is one of those crucial nutrients that your body needs. And very unique about it, there's really only 4 main fat-soluble vitamins. We've got our A, we've got our D, we have our E, and we have our K. Well, vitamin D, if you were to look at it, this one is more universal than the others in the way that vitamin D actually makes all the other processes of the body, especially the hormonal ones, much more active. So if you're low on vitamin D, it honestly affects everything in your body. It's hard to imagine, but it affects your sleep, it affects your recovery, it affects your metabolism, it affects your overall mood and depression. All of these things are linked to low vitamin D. So that's why it's so hard for me to believe that conventional medicine no longer even tests for vitamin D3 levels on your blood work. It blew my mind. This isn't even recent. This is like 8 years ago. They stopped doing it. That's because health insurance stopped paying for it to test this vitamin D3 marker because it was a little bit more costly to run 25-hydroxy vitamin D. So they stopped running it. And that to me, again, is outrageous because if you really care about someone's health, you have to know their vitamin D3 levels. You have to. If you don't, how do you know how their immune system is functioning? If you're worried about their mood, if you're worried about their hormones, if you're worried about their immunity, you need to know vitamin D3. Okay, so that's crucial. You can ask your doctor to run it. You can run it with an integrative health practitioner level 2. You can run it with a naturopathic doctor, and you can run it with the EcoLife team as well. Your choice. You should know your vitamin D3 numbers. You absolutely should. And it will allow you to know, do you need more sun, less sun? Do you need to take more supplemental vitamin D3 or are you getting enough from your food? But again, this show's neither here nor there on that. You can test it if you want to test it. If not, that's okay. The lab that you can run is at stephencabral.com/labs. You can just click on view all labs or just head on over to stephencabral.com/shop and then just search for the vitamin D3 test. It's under $100. You don't need to run it with us. I just want to repeat, you don't need to run it with us. You can run it with anyone you'd like. What I want you to do is if you do run the lab, to know the numbers you should be looking for. So I'm going to link up another podcast on that. It's at stephencabral.com/2441. That's where all of today's show notes and takeaways will be. But you want your number between a 50 and a 70. Between a 50 and a 70. Not a 30 or 32 like conventional medicine says is okay. That's not optimal, which means you won't feel optimal in both mind and body. Okay, so now before I get into should you be taking vitamin D3 all year round, because it's interesting, right? It's really interesting. If you're getting enough sun, if you're eating some higher vitamin D foods, do you need it? And so I always like to give you the unbiased answer. So I'm going to give you that, but I would love to be able to share with you how vitamin D is actually processed in your body from both food or from the sun. So this came about because every Monday and Thursday, I meet with the EcoLife health coaching team and we go through the most difficult, challenging cases of the week. And again, once you've seen over 300,000 wellness appointments like we have, many of them are very similar. And we, of course, know how to very easily help these people with specific protocols. But every once in a while, there are some outliers, and we love to be able to go through those as essentially a back and forth teaching-based session. And I'm always keeping my mind open, and I love hearing the team's thoughts as well. So what we went over was the synthesis of vitamin D3 and why some people, even with sunlight, etc., are not optimizing their levels. So we went through that. Again, I'm going to link up another show for you today, the cofactors that boost vitamin D3. Some people are supplementing with vitamin D3 and they're still not able to raise their levels. There's always a reason why. I'll link up that show again at stephencabral.com/2441. All right, let's go over the synthesis of vitamin D and then answer that question. So the main way that we would preferably get vitamin D is from the sun. So we have to get UVB rays. All right, so we get UVB rays. Now, here's the interesting thing. These cause a tan on the body. Most people are trying to, I shouldn't say most, many people are trying to prevent their body from getting a tan because they're worried about the skin aging. I get it. I totally understand. There is something that causes photo aging with the sun. That's no doubt about it. But the problem is when you put on sunscreen and sunblock, many of those, by the way, are poisonous to the body. They literally cause cancer. I have podcasts on that as well. But let's say you're using an all-natural one. Okay, fine. If you are, you're not getting vitamin D. So it doesn't matter that you go into the sun. This is what dermatologists are not telling people. If you go into the sun with sunscreen on and you're not getting any tan, you are not creating vitamin D. And here's why. The UVB rays hit your skin. Your body produces something called 7-dehydrocholesterol. You don't need to know how any of this works or what it means, but I just want you to know the process. Nobody ever talks about this process, so I just want to share it with you right now, especially if you are a practitioner helping people as well. All right, that forms pre-vitamin D3. So it's essentially the precursor to vitamin D3. It's made from cholesterol with the sun hitting the skin, and then it's about to be carried through the blood to the liver, all right? So it's moving through the blood to the liver. In the liver, then it is being created from what's called D25 hydroxylase. And then this is being confirmed to become actually an adequate, usable vitamin D as 1-alpha hydroxylase once it hits the kidneys. The kidneys, believe it or not, have a much larger role in usable vitamin D than was even previously thought. So a lot of people talk about the cytochrome P pathway in the body for converting vitamin D from sunlight or food. And that is absolutely true. But believe it or not, the 125 hydroxy vitamin D that we talk about, that D3, that's the actual usable form. Think about it as almost like thyroid. All right, so we have T4 floating around our body. Yeah, let's say it's about 30% active from T4. All right, for thyroid, for your metabolism. Well, once it hits the liver and other organs, it makes T3. T3 is about 70% of the usable active thyroid. Think about this now. The same essential format is happening with the kidneys for vitamin D3. That means once it's processed in your kidneys, it actually works alongside calcium. That's why if you take too much supplemental vitamin D3, it raises calcium levels. Yeah, exactly. Like that's exactly how human physiology works, which is why you're not supposed to take mega doses of vitamin D. So when they do these clinical trials with people taking 100,000 IUs, 250,000 IUs, 300,000 IUs, it's absurd. Of course it causes calcification of the arteries. What do they think was going to happen, right? If you take in high levels of vitamin D, it draws more calcium into your bloodstream. That's how the kidneys work. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. Because calcium actually helps that vitamin D get shuttled, moved around the body, and get into the cells that it's needed to get into in order to boost immunity, help with overall recovery, sleep, mood, etc. Right? So extremely important. Again, if you're a practitioner, you want to understand that part of it. I think that it's crucial. But what I want to share with you is just one other part to this. Okay. And then I'll give you dosages of vitamin D towards the end of the show. So we can get vitamin D2. It's different than the vitamin D3 that we start to absorb and would create from the sunlight, right? As a pre-vitamin D3. Okay. We can get it from mushrooms. We can get it from oily, fatty fish, and sometimes from some fortified dairy. The problem is the numbers you would get from those substances, even a cod liver oil, are small, very small. And it's almost like taking krill oil to move the needle for your omega-3s. I'm not saying krill oil is bad for you. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying fatty fish is bad for you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if you are looking to increase your or improve your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, again, I've run thousands upon thousands of these labs. Krill oil doesn't do it. It just doesn't. It does not have that same effect. Now, it is anti-inflammatory in the body for other reasons because it contains something called astaxanthin, which, lo and behold, turns out to be its own amazing antioxidant. All right, that's different though, right? And so when we're looking at fatty fish, okay, high levels of omega-3 is fantastic as long as there's not high levels of mercury, other things in the fish. So those things are great. They don't necessarily move the needle though in terms of D3. or vitamin D. And that's because your body was meant to get its vitamin D from the sun. Here's the problem though. Most people are not walking around 4 or 5 days a week getting a full body tan, right? Like humans were absolutely meant to live in warm climates. People can fight against that and rebut that and debate that all they want. You're welcome to. Okay, let's look at it a different way. Forget about, we've been around for millions upon millions of years. Before there were houses, before there was agriculture, we lived outside like everything else in this world. We would never have survived as a species originally before we could hunt, before we could make fire, before we could do all these things in Alaska. It's not happening, right? Like that is not happening. Well, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of food sources, all that. We'll put it this way. Humans were meant to get sun. They were meant to get sun the majority of the year, if not all year round. And you can, right? So right around in the United States, at least, it's Atlanta, Georgia, and below. You can actually get sun, enough vitamin D all year round if you're getting like bathing suit exposure. You in a bathing suit exposure 4 or 5 times a week. But again, do most people do that? No, they do not. So let's look, though, at other reasons why we may need to improve our vitamin D all year round. So the first one I just mentioned, that is climate. If you're not getting enough sunny days and you are not maintaining a tan year round, the likelihood that you have optimized vitamin D3 is very low. When I lab test, even during the summertime, it's like 3% of people, no exaggeration, around 3% of people have optimized vitamin D3 between that 50 and 70 mark, unless they are getting full body sun exposure 4 to 5 times a week or supplementing with vitamin D3. And we'll go over the supplemental amount most people need based on my practice, based on actually testing people and seeing what works. All right. The second part is this. Let's say you are getting full body sun exposure, but if you're someone who lives in, let's just say, Boston, Massachusetts, a lot of experience in living in Boston, Massachusetts, from October all the way through May, the sun isn't even strong enough to be able to create enough vitamin D in your body. So you could be getting sunlight, but it is not strong enough to actually create a tan and make enough vitamin D in the body. So that's important. All right, the next one is this. In places and cities, let's say like in LA or a lot of other places, there may be so many pollutants in the air that it is actually blocking you from getting adequate UVB rays on your body that would be able to create a tan. And again, that's why, how much sun do you need? Nobody can tell you how much sun you need. You can tell you how much sun you need, right? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that's all arbitrary. How much sun does it take you in order for you to get that first tinge of pink or that tan? That's it. I'm not saying get a sunburn. I never said that, right? I don't recommend that. That's actually bad and dangerous for the body. A little bit of change in pigment of that skin color. That's what you're looking for. So there has to be an actual change taking place on the skin in order for that cholesterol precursor to create vitamin D. Very, very important, all right? So sometimes air pollution can be a big one. Other as well is like some people have darker skin than others, right? They need a lot more vitamin D. So the whole 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, well, first of all, most people are being told that, and they think that they're covered if they go outside with like a t-shirt on, and they're just getting their face and their arms exposed. And then they have like suntan lotion on their face. So what are they doing? Well, they're getting their like forearms exposed up to their elbows in sun. That's certainly not enough sunlight. The sun is not going to tan you through your t-shirt or your shirt, right? It's just not going to happen. It's like an SPF 50, right? You're not going to get enough sunlight there. So that's a big one too. Some people with darker skin need 3-4 hours of sun. So again, that's why you'll oftentimes see darker the skin, it's very difficult unless you're getting that much sunlight if you're not supplemented with vitamin D. All right, as we get older, or there's liver-based issues or kidney-based issues, you may not be able to process the UVB rays or food as well as you could in the past. Really important to look at that. And then if your body is above that BMI mark of around 25, you're going to have a much more challenging time actually absorbing the vitamin D from the sunlight. So a lot of people don't talk about that, but that subcutaneous fat is actually a powerful inhibitor of vitamin D absorption. Really important. And again, that's why it's always just about optimizing your overall health, optimizing your weight for you, your body, nobody else's, but for you. And then what I would say as well are those people who are suffering from an autoimmune-based issue. I have seen in my practice, they do not synthesize, absorb, and utilize vitamin D3 to the same rate. Now, they may need more of it. Maybe it's being used up faster, possibly, or their liver, their detox pathways, their body's ability to form actually usable D3 may be inhibited. Now, we can still work on that, but it is something to look at. That's why we need to look at the heavy metals, the gut issues, the stress, the other things that can cause autoimmune-based issues. So the average recommendation for most people for vitamin D3 during the winter months when they're not getting a tan is somewhere around, and again, this is low, 400 to 800 IUs per day, right? International units. There's different measurements now. I'm just going to use the IUs for today. Again, like I'm not going to go through all the different micrograms that they're switching it to. Let's just go through IUs, and then I can give you the equation if you want at stephencabral.com/2441. So if you want to do the translation yourself, you're welcome to. All right. And then, so that very low amount, right? That low amount of vitamin D3 may get you to that 30 mark on your blood work, right? May get you there. What I've seen in my practice is most people need about 2,000 to 4,000 IUs per day if they are not getting a tan, if they're not getting 4 to 5 days of sunlight exposure. Now, even during the summertime, I will tell you this, most people are not outside getting a tan for that period of time. They're just not. They're on the weekends. So great. You may not use vitamin D3 on the weekend. I agree with that. Most people, I firmly believe, need to be supplementing with vitamin D3 all year round. And they need somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 IUs per day. Now, that doesn't mean you should take 10,000 once a week. Doesn't mean you should take 20,000 one day a week. It doesn't work like that. Conventional medicine loves giving out prescriptions for 50,000 IUs, one capsule per week. The problem with that, and I understand the mindset, oh, well, people can't remember. No, people can remember, right? We have to put a little bit more faith in people. Like that's the thing. So, okay, we take 4,000, we multiply by 7, we get 28,000, let's round up to 30. They're giving people a big dose once a week, once a month. It's not how it works. Because they forget how human physiology works. That you're going to draw too much calcium into your bloodstream for that one big hit of vitamin D. Why? Because you're supposed to use supplements as a supplement to nature, food and the sun, right? And the air we breathe and all of these great things. So do you get 50,000 IUs, excuse me, from the sun in one day? No, that's not how it works. You're meant to get around that 10,000 maximum, right? But what is that able to be used in your body? Well, it seems it's somewhere around 35 IUs per pound of body weight if you want to get really scientific. I learned that many, many years ago, and it seems to hold up pretty well in our practice. About 35 IUs per pound of body weight. Again, I'm not here to give you any medical advice, medical diagnosis, medical treatment plans, but that seems to hold up. Now, how do you really know? Well, again, I can't even tell you that that's the right amount for you. What I can say is this: live your normal life. Then run a vitamin D test. You can run it right at home. It's a little finger prick, just like you'd take your blood sugar. Put a few drops of blood on that card, you mail it in, you find your vitamin D levels. Do it while you're supplementing if you want, if that's what you do on a typical daily basis. Say, hey, am I optimized? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, Well, you now know exactly how much vitamin D you need for your body. And if you're not optimized, you say, okay, whatever I was using was too little, or if you're already using 4,000, 5,000 IUs per day maximum, now you need more of the cofactors, right? So that's how I look at it. I firmly believe most people need to supplement vitamin D3 on a daily basis because they are not maintaining a tan year round. So again, the nice thing is this, a vitamin D test, very inexpensive. You can do it right at home for you, for the whole family. The other thing is vitamin D3 is a very inexpensive nutritional supplement. So the good news is there, for less than $1 a day, you can take your vitamin D3 and be optimized and get all of the benefits from that. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll link up the lab today at stephencabral.com/2441, along with the other show notes and the conversion. I can't link up any nutritional supplements. I formulate one over at Equalife, but honestly, you can work with your practitioner and use a vitamin D3 that they recommend as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if it was helpful, please do feel free to share this with anyone you believe it could serve.